Hello and welcome to the Cameron Sadeghi Show. I am your host, Cameron Sadeghi here. We will talk about the NFL on this week 13 on this show, like every single week, but unfortunately, the time that we usually do our show didn't work out today, so we're doing it an hour earlier today, and I just want to say, before we move on to the NFL and Week 13 and how great the NFL is, I just want to say that something very tragic happened yesterday. Saturday morning was not a very good time to be in Missouri, especially if you're a Chiefs fan, or if you're in that community. Jovan Belcher, a a veteran linebacker for the Kansas City Chiefs, committed suicide Saturday morning at a Chiefs team facility in Kansas City, and he did kill his girlfriend, and he did kill himself yesterday as well. And before we get to the great things about the NFL, and look, my condolences go out to all the families involved in this. Okay, I'm not gonna. I've heard people kind of single out and say, oh, only giving condolences to Belcher's family. I want to give condolences out to his girlfriend's family, and I feel like it wouldn't do justice today if I didn't come here on the show and do this on the program. And you know what? And I have to say, the Kansas City Chiefs, they've gone through a lot this season, and unfortunately they had to go through something outside of football that was even worse. And it's shell-shocking, that this even occurred. I heard Romeo Crennel was shocked, and his agent. And I'm stunned too by the news. I still can't believe it to this day, which has only been the last 24 hours or so, that I've been pretty much stunned to hear this news. I think it would do justice today to take a moment of silence. So here's a moment of silence for Jovan Belcher and everyone involved in this situation. Okay, we will get back to the NFL very shortly. We'll get back to scores, news, updates like always, and we will have Lamar Gafford on the show. You can follow him on Twitter at Primetime2832. He will be giving live reaction to Ravens Steelers. But we have to get to the scores, news, updates, and talk about the early session of games, and I want to get your thoughts on the program. I want to hear what you have to say as a fan of the NFL. You can call in 949-456-2911, or you can comment on the comment board. There's a little green bubble on the right side of your page, and you can just click that and just type away anything you have to ask or anything you want to say. I'm here. You can, even in the middle of my spiel about the NFL or anything you have to say, please call in. I want to hear your thoughts. I think you guys are a really good audience, so I want your thoughts to be on the show. Okay, let's take a quick time out. We'll be back in 30 seconds. This is the Cameron Sadeghi Show. Alright, so on the Cameron Sadeghi Show, you can call in, as I've said. You can comment, or, I forgot to mention this, you can tweet me at SM_Cameron, and give me your thoughts on today's program. Okay, scores for Week 13 of the National Football League. Let's start in Buffalo, where it was raining, cold, doesn't matter. Well, it kind of mattered to Jacksonville. They lose, the Jaguars lose, 34-18 to, oh yes, the Buffalo Bills. Let's move on to Chicago. The kind of monsters in the Midway. Their defense plays like it. Just couldn't hang on in overtime. Seahawks win. And yes, Russell Wilson with his third game-winning touchdown pass of the year. I am mightily surprised by his success in the NFL. I'll explain why and how this team could make a playoff push. The other game, a team that will make a playoff push. Yes, the Indianapolis Colts win by the skin of their teeth in Motown at Ford Field. Stafford was lighting it up, as well as Megatron, aka Madden cover dude and wide receiver for the Detroit Lions. Lions win. Not Lions win. Colts win. The horseshoe remains alive, 35-33. The Pack, they face their NFC North foe, the Minnesota Vikings, at Lambeau Field. 23-14. Packers cruise in the fourth. Kansas City, Carolina. We talked about Jovan Belcher a few minutes ago, and they win inspiringly at Arrowhead. Many thought this game should have been canceled or should have been postponed. I agreed. It wasn't. The NFL stayed with it. The reason why is because the team captains of the Kansas City Chiefs said it was okay and they would be fine in playing the game. Kansas City wins 27-21. A team that, has clinched the AFC East. The New England Patriots, not a surprise. They win the ninth time out of 10 years. They have won 9 times in the AFC. They've won 9 of the last 10 AFC East divisions so far for New England against Miami at Sun Life Stadium. Another AFC East matchup. This time, AFC East versus NFC West. Let me just say this. It was not a good offensive game, to say the least. 7-6. Jets. Jets. No, there wasn't a Sanchez that won today. It was not a Tebow either. It was a McElroy. Yes, Greg McElroy throws the game-winning touchdown to get the victory at home against the Arizona Cardinals. We'll talk about that briefly, though. We're not talking about it for a long time, for sure. Another game I will be talking about for a pretty long time, OT. The second game of the day that goes into overtime. Yes, the St. Louis Rams and the San Francisco 49ers go to overtime again. This time, the Rams win. And there was no tie. It was very close of being a tie. It would have been the second tie of this NFL season between two of the same teams. which would be the San Francisco 49ers and the St. Louis Rams. Alright, another team that clinched a spot. This time, they clinched a spot in the playoffs. They get a playoff berth. The Houston Texans beat the Tennessee Titans 24-10. And a few score updates. Oakland and the Cleveland Browns at McAfee Coliseum. Brandon Whedon's at the 3 yards away from the end zone. 2nd and goal as Trent Richardson just ran into the end zone right now. And the Browns will take a 2-possession lead with 3:27 to go in Oaktown. Alright, in Denver, Peyton Manning has the football. 31-23 with 2:20 to go and ticking. No timeouts for Tampa Bay. They're going to have to try to make, as they're going to head to the 2-minute warning now in Denver, Tampa Bay may have one last shot. Another game Lamar Gafford will be discussing with us on the show. 2020, not the show, but the game. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, M&T Bank Stadium. Charlie Batch with the football at the 15 over there in Baltimore. Okay, and did I say... No, I did not say this. Cincinnati just scored. Andy Dalton, 6-yard touchdown run. They take the lead over the Lightning Bolts, the San Diego Chargers, at Qualcomm. Let me just mention something very important if you are a California sports fan. There were 2 games blacked out today. So if you lived in the Oakland area or anywhere near that area, or if you lived anywhere near the San Diego area, you could not see your respected teams. You could not see the Raiders in Oakland today, and you could not see the Chargers in San Diego today, because they did not have enough people in the crowd today. Blacked out games there. Very, very interesting, because what I've heard is that the NFL, I've heard some sports writers say that the NFL may not be that happy today, because since they want a team in LA, if they're going to have 2 blacked out cities, why is there a reason to have a team in LA? That's just something worth noting as a side note on the show. Okay, let's move on to the games, actually, and give you my thoughts here about these. Let me dive into let's talk about the overtime games that occurred today. The Seattle Seahawks marching in to Soldier Field with a rookie quarterback and just gutting this football game out today. Unbelievable how these guys do it. They win in overtime 23-17. I was stunned that Chicago had so much. I mean, look, the Seahawks are a very tough team, but I thought Chicago could win this game by 2 touchdowns, because at home, everything going their way. You got the crowd, the running game, which was okay. Well, not that great in my mind. You have Cutler, who's been looking good. You got this defense, but they could not win today. And it's because, it's because that this football team does such a great job, and I'm talking about the Seahawks, of keeping games close, limiting silly mistakes. It's such a disciplined football team. This team. This team hardly hurts themselves. They always put themselves in a position to win, and when they do, they make the key play. And that's credit to Pete Carroll, the coaching staff, Russell Wilson, and just everybody involved in general. And I don't know if Chicago's tired. I don't know what Chicago's going through right now. And I think they'll be fine. I think they're okay. But yet again, this Seahawks team has, yes, a chance. Now, many might say, oh, I don't know. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they could. And when I look about this team, I see playoff-esque quality traits. And those traits are, yes, look, they're young, okay? They're a young football team. I mean, I'm not going to, question that at all, okay? And I know that's a lot of pressure on them to be talking about playoffs, Look, still, I think this team has a legitimate shot. They're going to face the Cardinals next week, which I think is a very winnable game at home. Then they have the Bills. They have to go into Buffalo, which I think they'll win there. San Francisco, that's the only, San Francisco and St. Louis are the last two. If they can somehow win in St. Louis, I'm not sure if they can. Well, they'd be at home for San Francisco and St. Louis. If they win out, they're in. But if they don't, they have to at least get the Rams, Bills, and Cardinals. They cannot lose 2 games in my mind here for them to be successful and get to the playoffs. I think this is a playoff team. And as ridiculous as that may sound, I think with Lynch and Wilson, and the way Wilson extends plays and keeping drives alive, because that's what it really boils down to. Okay? It really boils down to third down. It really boils down to how many first downs you get, how many times you extend plays, making plays when it breaks down. That's what Russell Wilson has. And I think the Seattle Seahawks are really, to me, they control their own destiny right now. They don't have to worry about, a few teams losing here and a few teams losing there. Just win football games. And that little song that we heard, all he does is win. Remember that guy named Skip Bayless said, all he does is win, when we were talking about Tim Tebow? I think we should all be singing all he does is win for Russell Wilson. Because I've never seen, not never, but I had no expectations whatsoever for the Seahawks to be this successful. Especially with letting go of T.O. in the offseason, and now the Braylon Edwards, and now this and that. I just didn't think they would have it going. They have stunned everybody. And you know what? I'm proud of you, Seahawks. This is great for this organization. They really need it. This town, Seattle, this city, they really need a quality football team, especially with the ache and with the loss of the Seattle Supersonics. So I think this is very big. And then Chicago, I personally, I think they're fine. I thought this was just a game where, a few plays here and there changes it. It was just one of those games where one big play kind of, just a few big plays here and there determine it. I think with their schedule, and I think they'll be in good shape. I think they'll get into the playoffs. I think they'll be okay. Only if a serious injury happens, like, God forbid, a key player goes down, a Brandon Marshall, a Jay Cutler, Peanut Tillman, Charles Tillman, then yeah, then but so far, they're fine. There's nothing really to worry about. Yes, you have Minnesota, but I think they can beat Minnesota. Okay, you have, let's see here. You have the Green Bay Packers, okay. Then they have the Cardinals, which I think they can win. The Lions, I think they can win. So I think they put themselves in a pretty nice shape. So I think both of these teams, really, I mean, if the oh, by the way, let me mention this before I move on. If the playoffs were to end today, both of these teams would be facing each other. So, look, I think this might be a playoff preview that we'll see in the future. I would not be surprised. These two teams have the quality traits to go far in the playoffs. Well, Seahawks, I don't know because of their youth, but you never know. It's the NFL. Okay. Let's move on to a game in St. Louis between the San Francisco 49ers and the St. Louis Rams. This game goes into overtime again, this time with Colin Kaepernick at quarterback. And a lot of people are saying Colin Kaepernick's not good after this performance, and I want to kind of dive into this because it's a huge QB controversy. Okay, say what you want. They've got a winning record. I respect that. But, hey, any QB controversy is controversial and should be talked about. It's a leader of your franchise, basically, for the time being. You have Kaepernick, who, look, as great as the guy is, and I know he brings an athletic dynamic to this football team, he's a good person, you know, he's a nice guy, he throws a football really nicely, and I understand that. But why in the world would why in the world would you take the quarterback who had the third best passer rating in the entire NFL and take him out in Alex Smith? That is ridiculous. That's beyond ridiculous, okay? You're going to take a quarterback who has one of the highest stats in the league, and you're just going to take him out because you feel like it just doesn't make any sense, okay? You only take a quarterback out is if he's regressing the progress of your team. Alex Smith did not regress the progress of this football team at all. So, you don't need the change. Okay? And, unfortunately, they did it. Now, are they going to bring Smith back? Are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? That's the bad part about this. Okay? That's the bad, ugly part about this. Because it is really bad for your organization if, you keep switching back and forth. The players won't trust you in the locker room. And I like Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh a lot. Okay? I'm not saying he's a terrible coach. But settle down, guys. There's no need for a change. And it showed today. The second-year quarterback kind of stumbled. He didn't have that great of a day, and the Alex Smith experience would have helped. The penalty on Kaepernick, in the end zone, the fumble by Kaepernick when he tried to pitch it out in the option to Ted Ginn, and it was wild pitch, and Janoris Jenkins scooped it up and scored. It was such a bad San Francisco day. Excuse me. It was such a bad day that if they had that experience, they would have limited the turnovers, and then this would have never gone into overtime. I don't understand it. I know he brings an athletic dynamic, but don't go out there and say... Don't go out there and absolutely take out a quarterback because he doesn't have the athletic dynamic. I mean, that's seemingly... That's just crazy. It just is. Okay? So, please, and I beg of San Francisco, make the change now, and then finish it. Finish the rest of the season. Just say, you know what, Kaepernick, sorry, you're a little bit inexperienced. We're just going to put in Smith. Okay? I think they need to do that. St. Louis, great job. I mean, they really got it. I mean, I didn't think they really were going to win this football game at all, and the numbers didn't look that great for them. But you can tell that Jeff Fisher and this discipline organization, he's added discipline to this football team. And credit, kudos, Rams. Okay? They're still keeping themselves alive for their playoff hopes. Okay, so great job, St. Louis. But San Francisco, you really... I don't know if they're going to go to the Super Bowl now. Because in the playoffs, when you need that experience and you don't have it, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I don't know. Alright, we just went final in Baltimore. Charlie Batch and the Pittsburgh Steelers win. Game-winning field goal by Sean Sweezum. Steelers steal the victory in Baltimore. We're going to have Lamar Gafford come on right now, but let's take a quick break, and we'll be back in a moment and talk with Lamar Gafford in a moment. Cameron Sadeghi Show, 29 after the hour, and Lamar Gafford will be on the show in a few minutes here. Charlie Batch, what a day for this guy. What a day. Getting the victory on the road as a backup. Keeping... Well, here we have him. This is Lamar Gafford, host of the Gafford and Brown Show on National Sports. Hello, Lamar. I just saw right now the game between the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Steelers gutting this one out, coming out on top with Charlie Batch. A lot of people saying, oh, well, he turned it over a ton against Cleveland. How is he going to come in to a very tough team with the playoff hopes, kind of, dimming a little bit with Roethlisberger out, and how is Roethlisberger, when he comes back, what is he going to do, and how is this team going to respond? And they responded big time. How do you think, was this more, in your opinion, a Baltimore Ravens letdown or a Pittsburgh Steelers resurgence?
I think it was like before halftime, a little bit before the half, with a 13-3 lead. You kind of would think that it was a little bit of a letdown for them, but as you had said earlier too, that they did gut it out. That the Steelers did gut it out, and they really won a game that they really was supposed that they really needed. And I was just surprised that they did it without Big Ben. I thought they were surely going to lose that game because they had their recent track record without Roethlisberger in the lineup had not been too good for them. But like I said, they got a chance. They gutted it out. They won a game that they really needed. Now they're 7-5, and pretty much they have a little bit of a better and with 4 pretty decent games they got now. They put themselves in a good position to at least try to to get to the playoffs over the big.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And Batch, I thought this game was kind of lost in the first half, especially at the end when Charlie Batch had a wide open, I believe, Mike Wallace in the back of the end zone in the first half, but he absolutely threw a beautiful pass in the back of the end zone to a cameraman. Not so great for the cameraman, but as well as the Steelers in the first half. Did you at all and especially with Baltimore too, the Flacco fumble in the fourth quarter, Flacco didn't have that great of a day. Do you think that this Steelers team and this Ravens team is not a team that is really as good as their record indicates? Because against San Diego they could have lost. They've had some games where they could have lost. They could have lost against New England. People said the controversial field goal. There have been so many instances where many have thought that they could lose. Do you think that this Ravens team is as good as their record indicates?
Well, if you look at the schedule a little bit, there have been some points that you probably can really say that there have been some games that they should have dominated a little bit better in, and there have been some games that they really didn't perform too well. But you also have to look at it like this too. They've also had some injuries a little bit on their side for most of the part. I mean, as we know right now, Ray Lewis, he's been out ever since the Dallas game. In week 6, he's been out for the last couple of weeks. With his torn bicep, and is actually trying to get ready to play for the last couple of weeks of the season. I think that they kind of there's something missing with that. They do whenever you lose a guy like Ray Lewis, he embodies the heart and the soul of that team, and with him being on the sideline, that's one thing. But also, I feel like that with him also being on the field, that could be another thing as well. But they've been kind of shaky a little bit. They've looked dominant sometimes. Some other times they haven't looked dominant. So that's pretty much it.
And I agree too, because of the loss of Ladarius Webb was such a key critical factor as well. And with this Ravens team, I've noticed like they've come into games where usually I've seen them crumble, but I have to give them credit. They've made some legendary comebacks, especially the one against San Diego, and then I think this Ravens team is pretty solid in my mind still. I'm not sure about Pittsburgh though. Even with Big Ben, I said that earlier in this year. I kind of made a bold prediction and said they wouldn't make the playoffs because I didn't know if Big Ben would withstand this season, because again, he doesn't have a good offensive line and he's banged up and he's going to get broken down late in the season down the stretch. Do you think that this Steelers team could shoot themselves out of the playoffs because of their offensive line issues and Big Ben's health in this final stretch of this NFL season?
It is pretty possible. they're trying to get him to, from what I heard this week, that they're trying to get him to come back. They didn't want him to play in this game against the Ravens because they felt like it would have been a little bit too soon. But in their next game, let me take a see what the schedule is for them. They're trying to get him to come back for that stretch. Hopefully they can. Hopefully that he can be able to play in those games. And right now that they're going to play against the San Diego Chargers, who actually just now lost to the Bengals, by the way. But they for that stretch down the season, they're going to try to get him to play. Now, hopefully, he can be able to withstand, stay on the field and all, because if he does, then Pittsburgh's chances of winning and actually making it to the playoffs and trying to at least advance to the playoffs are a little bit, that they increase a whole lot more than they are without him. So it is quite possible the line has to do a better job of protecting him, and which has been a little bit of an Achilles heel for them over the past couple of years. So it pretty much is all about protection right now.
And on that note, we thank you very much, Lamar. We have to move on to our other topics on the show. But thank you. You can always listen to Gafford and Brown on this network, on this channel. They've done shows that you can see in the archives, so please listen to those shows. Those are great shows. Thank you very much, Lamar.
Thank you very much, Cameron, and as always, it's been a pleasure to join y'all.
Thank you. All right, that was Lamar Gafford of the Gafford and Brown Show. He's also, you can follow him on Twitter. You can find more information about him. You can even follow him as well on the Twitter's sphere. All right, let's take one more commercial break. We'll have more to talk about, and I'll give you my reaction to the late games today as well. Stay tuned. This is the Cameron Sadeghi Show. Back here on the show, we have a few of the late games finishing just a few minutes ago. San Diego, and look, I know it's been like a running thing on the show where people don't like it whenever I talk about the San Diego Chargers and a few guys, but I mean, I have to say this. San Diego couldn't get the victory today against Cincinnati at home, and it was just a mess. It really was. I thought San Diego had a shot, but it just didn't go out well. And then I want to talk about. We talked about the Baltimore game. We have to move on from that, even though as great of a game as it was, we have more things to talk about. Cleveland and Oakland. That, to me, again, Oakland really couldn't get any offense to go whatsoever, and Cleveland did a really nice job on the ground. So, mightily impressed by the Cleveland Browns in their ability to win 20-17 on the road. Good job, Cleveland Brownies. You get it again. The Cleveland Browns do it again. It was ugly. I mean, 1 touchdown, 2 picks for Brandon Weeden, but hey, he wins again. They've got 4 wins, and Raiders only have 3. All right, so that game, those were basically the afternoon games. I kind of wanted to go over them a little bit. But, I mean, besides the Baltimore-Pittsburgh one, there was really disappointing. And then Denver and Tampa Bay, I thought Tampa Bay was actually going to be really successful today. And I didn't, especially on the ground game, I was a little bit surprised that Doug Martin couldn't really have that much success on the ground game. I was expecting a lot more success from Doug Martin today, and this Denver Broncos rush defense isn't that great either. I don't know why that was the case today. And the Buccaneers sitting at 6-6. I thought this was a huge game for Tampa Bay that could really put themselves in a position where they can, make a run for the playoffs, because I think this is a really, really nice football team that can make the playoffs. I think they have all, the key guys, with Doug Martin, who's a pretty solid back in this league, and then Josh Freeman's improved in this Greg Schiano defense. Greg Schiano and company and their defense. Little bit disappointed from Tampa Bay's part, but Denver, Peyton Manning, seemingly do it again, and I believe, yes, they did clinch the division. The AFC West is under the Denver Broncos once again. So, wow. The Denver Broncos have really secured themselves for a first round home game in the playoffs. So, great job for you, Denver. Okay. That was basically what happened in the afternoon session, but in the morning session in the Pacific time area, there was a game that really, again, surprised me. Colts Lions. I said I was going to talk about this. Luck had a really mediocre day. I mean, yes, the 4 touchdowns are great, but as a rookie, you got to take care of the football. 3 interceptions, 4 touchdowns for Andrew Luck and company. And Stafford, 2 TDs for him and a pick. It was a shootout from the start, and this Colts team, you look at their talent, and I don't say, wow, this team is a, Super Bowl contender. They've got 15 Pro Bowlers. I mean, look at all this. No. But this team, every single week, I don't know if people take them for granted. I don't know what the case is. But they're comeback warriors in the fourth quarter. They do it again and again and again. Okay? I mean, in the red zone, 3 for 3, that's very impressive for a young team like this. It's just amazing to me how even both of these teams, 18 yards on the ground for the Colts this entire day. And then for Detroit, only 29 yards on the ground. I mean, guys, really. But, hey, the rushing was... Did I say 18? No, my bad. The rushing was really good, 138 yards for Detroit. For Indy, 87. But it just, to me, the Colts and their veteran leadership and their fight for Chuck Pagano has been a great story to watch. I think these guys are one of the best storylines in the NFL. Even if they don't make the playoffs, hey, I'll still remember this team because what they've had to go through and what they've had to fight through and what Andrew Luck's had to go through, filling in the shoes of Manning, all these different things, and, with all these classic games and a game-winning touchdown. I saw that last drive. Luck couldn't go anywhere, and on the last play, he dumps it off to Donnie Avery, and Avery speeds his way and splits through the defenders to get to the end zone. Just a heroic efforts all across the board from the Indianapolis Colts, and should be commended to all over the place. So, Colts, fight on. Great job. The other game I wanted to two more. Actually, well, three. Um, the Vikings and the Packers. Aaron Rodgers had a really okay. It was a good day. Yes, he had one touchdown, one interception, 286 yards, but he was flinging it today. Had a lot of success, but Christian Ponder didn't have a lot of success. He's been kind of hitting the wall lately. Yeah, Christian Ponder really struggling in the second half of the season. I kind of expected it. Now, look, I was the one that was saying, Minnesota, Vikings, Vikings, all this, and they've kind of disappointed. And I knew it was going to be because of the hard schedule, and that schedule of theirs is just a mess in the second half of the season, and it's shown. It's shown. That's why they're currently 6-6 right now, and I'm not really surprised that this schedule has been that awful to them. I mean, the schedule has been awful for them this entire day. So, I mean, for this, the schedule has been terrible, and they can't do anything. They couldn't do anything about it, really. I mean, today the second quarter was a plus, but other than that, nothing else wasn't. They didn't score anything else except in the second quarter, and then in the fourth quarter they just got grinded out. I mean, Aaron Rodgers just picked them apart and methodically moved downfield and got that last TD. Or no, they got that field goal in the fourth quarter to really clinch things over there, and it just, again, this Packers team, I thought they were in trouble a little bit. Now they're perfectly fine. They're back on track. And Randall Cobb has been the key target. By the way, that's my fantasy football player, even though not a lot of you care about my fantasy football. That's fine, because fantasy football, I'm doing okay, but excuse me. I'm doing okay, but Randall Cobb has been a huge plus for me. And excuse me. Randall Cobb has provided such versatility for this team that I think is excuse me, made the Packers go leaps and bounds ahead as an organization and as a team. They've lifted themselves up, and one of the main reasons is because of Randall Cobb. And this defense has improved. I'll give them credit. They've really stepped it up these past weeks. And look, I know they gave up 210 yards on the ground to Adrian Peterson, but hey, Adrian Peterson is Adrian Peterson, and he's going to obviously do well. I mean, 210 yards is like off the charts, good. But still, not very surprised there. I personally think that, that the Green Bay defense made enough plays today to get the victory. Okay, Robert, we got some comments before we move on. Robert says the Packers are the best. I wouldn't go that far, but I think they're pretty good. Okay. We'll see in February. You never know. They could win the Super Bowl. Who knows? And then we got another question. I've been trying to escape this topic, but Mark Sanchez. Alright, I'm not a big... I don't love talking about the Jets. Some of these other networks love to, but I just don't. Because it's kind of been annoying. Okay? It's been an annoyance, especially within the national media, of how this team is personified and described by and cared by within analysts and hosts and all these different things. Is Mark Sanchez going to be kicked out of New York? I don't know. I mean, look, McElroy, great job. You engineered a big-time drive to win that football game. Good job. But I just don't know, because Sanchez, he's playing for that contract, and I don't know if the Jets are gonna, release him and kind of do that. I don't know. They've really invested in a Sanchez. I don't know if that's economically sound. I think the Jets are very, very, careful about being economically sound, and I'm not sure. And then the Tebow thing, he was inactive today. People said, oh, he should have played. Look, the guy has 2 bruised ribs. Um, you know, look, I heard that Levy, this guy, a part of one of the hosts on our channel, said he had 3 interceptions today. I understand that. Okay, I get it. I personally think that Sanchez should sit on the bench too. Okay, but I'm not gonna go out there and say and know what this Jets organization is gonna do as a franchise in determining their future today. I can't do that. Okay. I don't know if he's going to leave. They want to keep him for as long as possible. And I don't know what that's going to be till, so who knows? And then we don't know if Tebow's going to be in next week. And we don't know, maybe if McElroy has a bad day, does Tebow come in? And then people starting to say Tebow, Tebow. And then we start getting the Tebow chants in. And then chaos occurs, and then the whole world ends. No, not really, but I'm just making that up. This whole Jets thing is just, it's seemingly ridiculous because they're not making the playoffs and people are still talking about them. Like, it's almost saying, should we talk about the Oakland Raiders every single second of our lives if they had Tebow? If the Raiders had Tebow, I bet they would be the most talked about team in the NFL, just like the Jets are right now. Okay? It's ridiculous, and I know I've used that word a lot. It's not just ridiculous, it's bizarre, blasphemous, and just everything that you can think of that's bad. I don't like talking about the Jets. Please. If we can avoid the topic, let's do so. Okay? I'm not like one of those commentators who says, let's talk about the Jets. Oh, let's see what Tebow did after the game. Let's see what Tebow had for dinner. No, look, I like Tebow as a person. I hope he does well as a quarterback, and I hope he improves his mechanics, and I think he has great football common sense. But don't go out there and say, oh, let's see what he did for dinner. Let's see what his sex life is like. Ooh, ooh, ooh. No, I'm not that type of commentator. Okay? Look, go ask Stephen A. Smith, but I'm Cameron Sadeghi, not Stephen A. Smith. Okay, Stephen A. Smith likes talking about his sex life. I don't. It's not what I do here on the program. Okay, let's move on. Okay, let me move on to Patriots Dolphins really quickly. I think the Patriots absolutely played awful today, to be dead honest with you. I mean, even though I said they were going to be my Super Bowl prediction, I mean, yes, they made enough plays to win today, but did they play a great game? No, they played absolutely atrocious today, in fact, and I thought the New England Patriots should have lost today. The Miami Dolphins handed opportunities to New England today, and look, I eventually you'd think that New England would win the division. I thought that too, but I wouldn't be surprised. I was not going to be surprised if they had lost this week because they were just emotionally and their energy was gone from the Patriots. I mean, it was non-existent. And I still think they can, get to the Super Bowl, but that was a little bit concerning today. Dolphins, they fought. That was their season basically right there, and now their season's basically over. All the AFC East teams are just pretty much dead in the water. So that's pretty much what the case is there. Alright, if you want, you guys can call in, comment. Just got a comment right now. Steven says, Tebow is overrated. Okay. I mean, I agree, but here's the thing. Do I want Tebow to do well? Yes. Do I think he's overrated? Of course. And I just hope that people can stop talking about what he does after football. Okay? I don't care about who he marries, okay? really, really don't. I really don't care who Tim Tebow marries. Okay, I really don't care what he eats for dinner. Okay, I just care about what happens Sunday, Monday, Thursday, whatever the case is, when he puts on that football uniform. That's all I care about. That's all what people should care about, not the other stuff. Leave that to entertainment reporters, not to sports commentators, reporters, analysts, whatever the case may be. Also, another comment. Welker had a good game, though, by Robert. Yeah, he did. I mean, he was targeted a lot. He was thrown to a lot. Yeah, the stats look great, but I'm saying as an overall team, though, the Patriots didn't play good at all. I mean, I'm a realist, even though I think New England's going to make the Super Bowl. I mean, I don't know if they're going to make... I'm not completely sure. I know they're a contender, but Brady looked off. You know, the offensive line really didn't do that great of a job. The running game wasn't there, and yes, I'll give credit to the Dolphins. Unbelievable run defense by them. Great job on the run-stopping ability. And then, overall, you know, Tannehill, I mean, he didn't do that great. But the Patriots really could have initiated more offense, and they didn't do that today. Enough. I mean, yes, they did enough to win. But was it impressive? No. Did they win the AFC East today? Yes. Congratulations, New England Patriots. Congratulations, Houston Texans, by the way, who did clinch a playoff spot. That was very huge today. They faced the Titans. They got the victory. We didn't really talk about them on the show today, but they did a great job forcing, you know, fumbles and turnovers today and translating them into points. So great job. Very impressed by the Houston Texans. And we just got another question here. Do you think the Pats and the Bears O-line are the same? I think the Patriots offensive line, I mean, it's certainly regressed over these years, but I don't know if I'd go to Bears level. I mean, the Bears, yeah, but I'd have to go with New England. I'll just give them an upper hand here, but New England's offensive line does scare me, though. Does scare me. I wonder, you know, if they face, you know, key defensive linemen, key pass rushers, how are they going to be able to protect? They might need chip blocks from the running back, and they may need a fullback to chip block, a tight end, you know, to just keep Brady upright and give him some time in the pocket. But yeah, I think this Patriots team, though, the one thing that I have to say that's impressed me is that New England's done a great job with keeping it on the ground and committing their offensive game plan on the ground and trying to go back to that as a staple, because that's what New England really was when they won those Super Bowls. It was on the ground, not just in the air, but on the ground. These past years when they faced the Giants, 0 ground game. This year, a little bit more. It's an improvement in the defense with the keep to leave. They're making some progress there. Thank you, everyone, for commenting. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you for everyone who's listened to this program for a long time, this channel, this network, everything about it. You, as a listener, you can like our Facebook page. It's very, very simple. All you have to do, go on Facebook in the search bar and just put National Sports. All one word. And the only capitalized letter is the first letter in N. So please like our Facebook page. And we do have a show tomorrow. NFL Goal Line with Nick and Phil. 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. That will be a supremely good show tomorrow. And the commenter said, don't leave with us. Sorry, but we gotta go. I gotta go, actually. And Nick and Phil, tomorrow. Nick Rice, Phil Nunziata. 60 minutes of cold blood analysis, updates, everything you need to know. Nick and Phil tomorrow, 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. Don't miss it. They'll give you Monday Night Football updates within the broadcast as well, and they'll have all the injury news updates, everything, from the Joe Van, the Kansas City Chiefs tragedy issue we talked about earlier on the show, the games, the who clinched, who did this, who did that, all these different scenarios that occurred today. And by the way, I just want to quickly, and I know we're kind of running over time, but I promised I wanted to get to this, and I forgot to on accident. The NFL playoff picture. If the season ended today, let me just tell you really quickly. If the season ended today, these would be the teams in the playoffs. Let's go first with the AFC. The Houston Texans at the 1 seed, they clinched a playoff spot. Patriots, they clinched the division. They would be in the 2nd seed. Pittsburgh would be Baltimore would be 3rd. Broncos would be 4th. Colts would be 5th. Steelers would be 6th. That's the AFC. And the NFC, Falcons at 1, they clinched the division. Niners at 2. Packers at 3. Giants 4. Bears 5. And oh yes, the team that we talked about, the Seattle Seahawks, would be in the playoffs at 6. Okay, now it's officially over. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for everything. Please like our Facebook page. Please listen to our shows. Listen to our archive shows if you haven't heard them. Listen to everything you need to know. By the way, I just want to mention 2 things. We actually have 2 new hosts. One by the name of Blake. I'm not sure. I believe it's I'm not sure exactly what his show is, but there's another guy, Baseball America Radio. There's a guy that we just added. He has a new show. You can please listen to him. He had some technical difficulties on Saturday, so please listen to that show. And also, yes, really quickly, Twitter. National Sports has its own Twitter account, and you can basically, every time you get a tweet from National Sports, it's going to tell you immediately when the show starts. It will give you the link to the show. So if you're on Twitter and you're tweeting other people and you're just looking around at your timeline, then you see National Sports, you can immediately listen to our shows over there. And you can click the link and listen to our shows. Okay, here is on the comment board. I'll put it for everyone. Here's our Twitter name. It is at National Sports 1, everything capitalized. At National Sports 1. So NATIONALSPORTS and then the number 1. And I know some of you are saying, why are you spelling it out? Because, hey, some people, they never go to it unless you spell it out sometimes. But, alright. Thank you, everybody. Everything's finalized. Everything's over. Thanks for listening. And like always, hasta luego. Please see us here next week, next Sunday. Thank you.